Hello, guys. My name is Okobru, and welcome. This is Reality Checks. Today is just gonna be a solo thing, and I just want to have a conversation, more or less like thinking out loud, And I want to talk about morality and what morality is. The topic is going to be: is morality always in context? And I've been thinking about it for a while, and I decided to have a conversation with you guys, I guess. According to Oxford Dictionary, right? Morality is the principles concerning the distinction between right and wrong or good or bad behavior. Um, so as I said, good and bad behavior. But the question here is who defines what good and bad behavior is, right? Is it because it depends on the time period, the collective people, and the area you're in, country or whatever you're talking about. So is morality a social construct? That's the question, right? And let's go down memory lane, right? Back in the day, human sacrifices was deemed to be right according to the time period it was in. We can talk about even in Ghana, we talk about when abortion used to be human sacrifice. We talk about even the Aztecs, back in the day where they used to sacrifice human beings, and so many other civilizations and cultures used to do that. But now it's regarded as something that is really bad. We talk about even the Roman Catholic Church, where they used to, or back in the day in the West, they used to burn witches to the stake, and it deemed as something that was right to do. We talk about the Holy Crusades, where uh, religious factions were fighting in the name of their God and killing people. But now, if you ask them, you're like, that was a barbaric thing to do. So the point is, morality has never stayed the same. It's never stayed the same. It's never an absolute thing. It's an always and ever evolving, topic or something that we human beings have to agree to it. We all remember, when slavery was something that people didn't frown upon. Some religious factions even accepted slavery. If you're not part of our religion, then it's okay to take slaves. You talk about the West, where they came to Africa, took slaves to work on whatever they are working on that sense, make their country great or continent or whatsoever in that sense, right? It was deemed right at that point. But there was a point in time where it became something more of an abomination. I know it's happening in some factions of the world, but universally or globally, it's frowned upon. These are questions we ask ourselves, like, okay, is it because it was okay at that point and now it's not okay? And it makes you wonder whether morality is a man-made concept just to um appease the time we're in. uh let's take the religious context, right, where mostly morality is being associated with. We have the popular ones. I'm talking about Christianity, Islam, the Jewish religion, Buddhism, and all that. But let's take Christianity, for example, right? In the Old Testament, it was encouraged that when someone hits you, you hit them back, in some verses and all that. You come to the New Testament and it changed. Jesus says that when someone hits you, you turn the other cheek. And for that, so you don't necessarily hit the person, but it's more about forgiveness than striking back in that sense, right? So these are different things in the same religious context. It changed over time. The question here, right? The question here I'm asking is, does morality come from God? And if it did, why does it shift from one point in time to the other? Is it divine, or is it something that is made by man to conform what the idea of what God should be or what God wants? That's the question I'm trying to ask. Is this something that we make to make ourselves feel good? In the time period we're in. Yeah, I know I'm saying a lot of things that might not make sense to some people, but just bear with me, right? So let's even go to philosophy, right? So some of the famous philosophers, like Nietzsche, says that morality is something made by the weak to control the strong. What does that even mean in the first place? Is this something to um, restrict people what there's so many contexts we can talk about, and I don't think we have enough time to do that. And you go to Kant, and it says it's about rules, not necessarily the outcome of it. So these are it just makes you wonder what type of how morality is shifted over time in terms of how you look at all the way back in time and you look at now. You can clearly see the differences in what we accept as what is moral and what's not moral. Just look into your country, just look at the things that are happening in the country, right? And just wonder, has it changed over time? There are certain practices we used to do that we don't do anymore, and we all accepted it that, okay, maybe that was bad, but we are now learning. Is there a never-ending cycle where we currently redefine what morality is? Just think about that. So now let's think about what future morality will be like. Think about it, because we are now in a space where technology is really running. There's gonna be a place where we have robots imbued with AI, and they might gain consciousness for all we care. And are we going to give them rights? Is it going to affect them in that sense? We talk about DNA coding and everything. It's going to be morally acceptable for people to clone human beings and other things. You know, are you going to be um now we are trying to explore other planets. I don't know whether it's going to happen or not. But the question is, are you going to is the morality going to transcend onto those planets in that sense, right? There's so many ways you can think about morality that, you know, and I was talking to a friend yesterday, and the person was telling me about the fact that there's something called universal morality. And my argument was in terms of, let's say, thou shalt not kill. The no killing policy is universally accepted, but it also always depends on the context we are talking about. Killing is right accordingly when it's more like seeking justice. Let's say you do something and they kill you by the law and everything, or it's wrong when you do it yourself. Who decides? Us. We decide what killing is in that sense. People go to war and they kill each other in war, but we decide whether is this right or is it wrong. There are different ways where you can kill people. That's why you have war crimes, but they are still in the process of fighting. We say, okay, the way you kill this person was unfair, so we are charging you for that. So it always, my point is, it's always in context. So what we define acceptable, what we define good or bad, is always acceptable. Someone kills somebody in a certain context, it might be regarded as good. In another context, it might be regarded as bad. So the point I'm trying to say is the fact that, or what I'm trying to ramble, or let's say thinking out loud, is why is morality always in context? And is it, and I know it's a man-made thing, but the question is, where does the future hold? And one important thing is, you need to start questioning, you know, these things, and whatever is normally accepted as it. Try and think outside the box to realize what it is. So if someone say this is bad, you need to ask a question: why is it bad? Is it because you've been told to accept that it's bad? Have to have a little bit of logical thinking in this. And yeah, and that's just a little bit of my rant about what morality is. And yeah, thank you for sticking this far. This is just a personal reflection, right? I've been thinking about it for a while, and please let me know what you think about this in the comment section. And thank you for listening. All right, peace.